Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari. So we are studying the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 2, Chapter 5, entitled The Cause of All Causes, and it's text number 22. Kalad Guna Yatikara Parinamaha Svabhavata Kamano Janma Mahata Purushadistahad Abud Kalad Guna Vyatakara Parinama Svabhavata Kamano Janma Mahata Purushadistithadabud Kalad, from eternal time. Gunavyatikara, transformation of the modes by reaction. Parinamaha, transformation. Svabhavata, from the nature. Karmana, of activities. Jama, creation. Mahata, of the Mahatattva. Purusha Adhistithat, because of the Purusha incarnation of the Lord. Abud, it took place. Translation. After the incarnation of the first Purush, Karanadaksha, Vishnu, the Mahatattva, or the principles of material creation, took place. Then time is manifested, and in course of time, the three qualities appear. Nature means the three qualitative appearances they transform into activities. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. By the omnipotency of the Supreme Lord, the whole material creation evolves by the process of transformation and reactions one after another. And by the same omnipotency, they wound up again one after another conserved in the body of the Supreme. Kala, or time, is a synonym of nature, and is the transformed manifestation of the principles of material creation. As such, Kala may be taken as the first cause of all creation, and by the transformation of nature, different activities of the material world become visible. These activities may be taken up as a natural instinct of each and every living being, or even of the inert objects. And after the manifestation of activities, there are varieties of products and byproducts in the same nature. Originally, these are all due to the Supreme Lord. Vedanta Sutras in the beginning, and the Bhagavatam thus begin with the Absolute Truth as the beginning of all creations. Janmidi Yasya Yata. Kala Guna Vyatikara Parinama Svabhavata Kamano Jama Mahata Purushatista Abud Omagina Timirandasya Jananjana Tilakayat Kurmilatamyana Tasmei Shri Gurave Namaha Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangam Langate Gyum Yakripatamaham Vande Shri Gurum Dinatarane Dugame Parimindasya Skalapate Katirmo Sakipayuta Dhanana Shanta Shantu Lambanam. So we are delving in Vedic cosmology here, talking about the creation of this material universe. So I brought with me a picture of the Srimad Bhagavatam, our first canto. For those of you who are new here, there are 10 cantos of the Srimad Bhagavatam, and they discuss different aspects of the creation, the different manifestations of the Lord in his avatar's form, different devotees, and it finally culminates in the 10th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, where talked about the pastimes of Krishna on this planet. So, this very first canto, Srila Prabhupada designed this cover, and he brought it with him to the West, and this is the picture of the spiritual world everywhere. You see this blue here, this is Krishna's effulgence, his Brahmajyoti, and within this Brahmajyoti are different planets that have been manifested by Krishna, spiritual planets, and his expansion of Narayan is residing in all these planets. So all the good citizens of the creation, 3/4 of them are residing in these planets and enjoying eternal life in association with Krishna. But in one corner of the spiritual world, there is this dark cloud. It's like a cloud in the sky, and it's called the Mahat Tattva. And there's a lot of energy going on because it has attracted so many living entities who choose not to live in the spiritual realm but are attracted by this Mahat Tattva for some reason or another, that they think, wow, there's some enjoyment here, I can forget about Krishna, let's go. So, of course, up here is Goloka Vrindavan, Krishna's own spiritual home, where those liberated souls who understand the fact that Krishna is the Supreme Person and he has a reciprocal relation with all of us, and they forget the fact that he's actually the Supreme Creator, just this wonderful, beautiful person, cowherd boy in Vrindavan, and they choose to live with him in that realm as a friend or a parent or his lover. So, we're talking about the Mahat Tattva today. So, the fact is that Mahat Tattva is this like dark cloud, and within the dark cloud is what we call the material energy. So, the first thing that, well, it's actually eternal, but within this material energy we see this beautiful body lying in the ocean, and that body is Mahavishnu. Here it is described as Karanadoksha Vishnu, that's his proper name, but we call him Maha because he's great. He's lying in the causal ocean, and he's breathing, and his breathing is rather extraordinary. Now stay with me on this Vedic cosmology, because actually I'll tell you the other alternative if you don't believe this. And you'll find that this is more believable than what the scientists say. But anyway, so all these beautiful bubbles, these bubbles are coming out of his body and begin to grow, and they form universes. So where the time factor comes in, that this time is the agitator, that it actually works on the universes within, and there is this what we call material energy. It's what we need, chunks. So everybody is familiar with the word chunk, so both chunks of matter. So this matter we understand when it is unmanifest, just pure matter, it's called pradhana, and it's sitting within this universes as the universes come out. And what is incredible is that there's a time span of this universe, because it's the Lord Mahavishnu is a manifestation of Krishna, just in charge of this material energy. Krishna has different agents, different expansions of his, so therefore he can relate, he can just be free of the encumbrance of managing this material universes. So Mahavishnu breathes out, and then when he breathes in, his universe is wound up. So it's Bhagavad Gita explains this. Buddha Grama Sevayam Buddha Praliyate. Again and again, host of beings are active, and again and again it dissolved. So what is this all about? It's all about for those living entities who are attracted to this material energy, this vast complex that the Lord has created. So within each universe we have all the different matter, it's called pradana, floating around, and it's in 3 categories. Maybe we can understand it like what's really popular with young kids is plasticine, right? If you have any kids, that's the first thing you get for them, some plasticine, right? And it comes in 3 colours, right? Red, blue and yellow. So they're like the modes, so you can just all play with the plasticine. Usually it becomes just one mass of green or khaki or something, but in the material world you can get different varieties. So goodness is like yellow, passion's like red, and darkness like blue, but you mix these varieties and you can get 8,400,000 different varieties. So this is the material energy, but to do that we need someone to do this. So the firstborn living entity is Lord Brahma, Adi Kavaya. So he was the last most intelligent living entity to actually be in the universe when it was dissolved, went back into the body of Lord Vishnu and come out again, right? So Lord Brahma is the firstborn. And what happens is that Lord Vishnu is lying, similarly as like Karana Vishnu is lying in the causal ocean. So we see another little bubble in here. You can study this book later on if you want the cover. And there is another, what we call a second expansion, it's called the Garbhodaksha Vishnu, who's lying within the universe. Each particular universe, there's myriads of universes, all these bubbles are coming out. So for a start, we are only in one universe there, so we shouldn't feel too important. So anyway, there's a lotus that comes out from the navel, Lord Vishnu lying in the Garbhodak ocean. This lotus grows and grows and grows till it reaches a higher strata of the universe, way up the top in the universe there. And that's Lord Brahma's residence, and there's a beautiful lotus that stems from there, that sprouts from there. And Lord Brahma is sitting there. And by dint of his meditation, he puts it all together. The first 2 syllables that he hears in this universe, because the universe is empty, it's all this nothingness there, and he hears ta pa. It means to meditate. So by meditating, Lord Brahma has 4 heads. So by meditating, and he receives the knowledge within the heart from Krishna how to create these chunks into suitable bodies for all the living entities who want to take birth. So where are all these living entities? Anybody got any idea? Where are these living entities in the universe? They're in the stem of the lotus. They've come from the body of Lord Vishnu into the universe, and Lord Vishnu has manifested them, he's brought them out in the secondary expansion, and they're all in the stem leading right up to Lord Brahma's abode. And it's said that these living entities have been asleep for a long time in the body of Lord Vishnu, and they want to get out again, and their desires are so strong that the lotus becomes white hot. Right, so like you have steel, right? You have steel, when you heat it, it becomes red. And if it really, really heated up, it becomes this molten sort of whitish gold colour. So this is the lotus stem for all the living entities who break out and enjoy the material energy. So then, of course, Lord Brahma, he manifests he's the creator, so he creates arranges his pradana, all the different modes like goodness, passion, ignorance into different bodies. In yesterday's purport, Srila Prabhupada gave us a profound realization that the living entities, why are they there in the first place when, you know, the rest of the world, everybody's having a good time? In the spiritual world, eternally, But here, they're under this kala factor, this time factor, which actually keeps churning these bodies, that there's the factor of birth, growth, reproduction, youth, middle age, disease and death, right? So the time factor is churning, so there's all these different species that these bodies are transversing through. Why does anybody want to come here? So ultimately, Prabhupada explains, of course, that these living entities, they are Atma. They're qualitatively same as the Lord. So the Lord is Atma, he's spiritual, it's all pure spirit. And so the living entities are also pure spirit. But those ones who have sort of become attracted to this pradhana, this material creation, they say, oh, I want to go there. They've actively and subjectively been involved in it. They become different from Krishna because they become marginalised, minimalised, compromised, but they're attracted to this Mahatattva, and it's just Krishna's inferior energy. Crazy, isn't it? That they've got the spiritual energy and inferior energy, and they say, hey, let me go here, I want to enjoy it. Why? Because I can be my own master, I don't have to think about Krishna. To different various degrees. It's like the thing, what we say in the West these days is, do your own thing. Right, Reed? Do your own thing, man. Okay, so, but then if we do our own thing, our connection with Krishna becomes marginalised, and then we become connected with the material energy, the three modes of the material energy. So the three modes of nature, we know what they are, don't we? Goodness, passion, and ignorance, right? So because of that, we get to experience this universe that said Brahmanda, Brahmate, Guna Bhagavan Jiva, Guru Krishna Prasadapaya Bhakti Lata Beach, that Brahmanda Brahmate, that living entity, that Atma, in his identification with matter, takes on these different bodies, because we all have to have a body of some sort. And we traverse the universe. We're going up one time, we're a demigod, we're living Lord Brahma, and next time we're down below, and down below in a hellish situation. So accordingly, Lord Brahma's provided this facility for all of us, all these 8,400,000 different types of bodies. Of course, only 400,000 of them are human bodies of different shapes and sizes. So when Lord Brahma creates these bodies, then Lord Vishnu comes in his third expansion, this Kshirodaksa Vishnu, and he impregnates these bodies along with the soul. So the soul is dying to get into the body that he wants to enjoy, but he can't come until Lord Vishnu is there simultaneously in that body. And so then is that journey begins. So the soul and the super soul travelling up and down in this material universe, trying to enjoy the facilities of this universe. And so here we all are. So we're under the time factor. So this is what this is all about, the Mahatattva. So we have our watches, and we're watching the clock, the seconds are ticking, the minutes, and the hour is there. Sometimes your clock's got the day, the date, the month, the year. And so we're focused on the time factor. Even more appropriately, to put into perspective that, the conch rings at 4:30 in the morning, and where we're supposed to be, Mangaladi, of course. And then the bell rings down at the village at 6 o'clock, and it's muster time. It's time to go and do your service. And of course we've got the prasadam bell, right? Beautiful prasadam bell where we'll all go and eat to our full satisfaction. Just a bit of information on the prasadam bell. It used to be the bell at the village, but the bell at the village was a bit louder. The bell they had there at the village, they rang it and everybody slept through it, right? So they sequestered our bell from the prasadam hall because I can hear it ring from my place in the morning. It's pretty good. So anyway, we're moving, but the thing is, this time factor is going along. But But what we don't really understand or know is that we're moving along with the time factor. Everything that's happening, like from one event to another, we're moving with it. And we're going through that process, like I said, the birth, the growth, the youth, the vigour, the reproduction stage, the middle age. We're at some stage there, and we're slowly moving forward. It's called imperceptible time. We don't see it. Sometimes we do see it, just like, for instance, when I went to the reunion, the 40-year reunion of the installation Radha Gopinath, and we hadn't seen each other for maybe 20 years. And then we looked at each other and said, oh my God, what happened to you? It's the time factor. So like one of my friends said that you may feel young in body, but you certainly don't look it. So that's it. So we're all subject to this to the time factor, but that's only on the small scale. So on the big scale, the big picture, so we have one day, it's 24 hours. Lord Brahma. We talk about Lord Brahma, the Creator. He has one day. He has 24 hours too. But compared to our day, we are talking 8,600,000,000 years of our life is just one day of Lord Brahma. 8,600,000,000. So, if you want to actually find out how long Brahma lives, then you actually multiply that by 24, and that's days. You multiply 360, so you get 360 days in a year, and he lives 100 years. Everybody lives their own 100 years relatively. So we get 36,000 years, right? So if you want to know how long this universe, because when Lord Brahma's life's finished in this universe, it's going back into the body of Lord Vishnu. So if you want to know how old this universe is going to be, lifespan, you multiply 8,600,000 by 36,000. I didn't do it, but that is one breath of Lord Vishnu. So he's breathed out, we're alive, and then he breathes back in. That is the length of time, one breath of Lord Vishnu. Now, modern science, right? So now we talk about modern science. So the modern scientists, their postulation, because nothing is proven, of course, that they postulate by the movement of the galaxies which they're looking through their telescopes, which are, according to their calculation, 25,000 light years away. Right, 25, a fair way, a lot of lifetimes, right? But the sun the light is filtering through to them at like 186,000 miles a second. So what they're seeing is like a long time ago, 25,000, then the light's coming. Oh, this is what happened 25,000 years ago on that planet, right? So by checking the movements of the planets in their short time that they've been doing this, they've concluded that the universe is 13.7 billion years old, right? So that figure, if we check that figure, let me see. Oh, that's only a day and a half of Lord Brahma, right? That's how long they think this universe is. And it's said in the Taittiriya Upanishad, or one of the Upanishads, that Lord Brahma is presently 55 years old of his 100-year lifespan. So I haven't added it up, but 1.5 days is pretty short, comes up short. So that's the first postulation of the scientists. So the other, well, how did it all happen? I've given you the Vedic theory, but as far as the scientists say, well, we all know that they say there was a big bang, right? Boom, up it all went. And what was incredible about this Big Bang theory, that there was no space before that. It was just this huge, huge chunk of matter, right? So somehow or other it heated up and exploded. And then everything went out. Like, if you look at the definition of violent explosion in a dictionary, it says a violent reaction. So you wouldn't think that there's going to be an orderly sort of fashion where there's an explosion, but somehow or other that's what happened, because all these chunks of matter just end up falling into this different orbits. So now they can see all the galaxies and everything, they're all totally in order, and they can sort of see the light coming, that everything's regulated. So how is it that, how did that happen? Well, there's a time factor. There's no consideration of where was the time factor. If it was sort of like there was no space and no time, what happened? So for me, it was very, very hard to conceive that there was never any space. There was just this one big huge chunk of matter, and then space was created from this explosion. That is more fanciful to me than the Vedic theory of the Vedic cosmology of the Lord Vishnu. At least there's substance to that. So this is just pure speculation. The fact is, where do they fit time in? How does time work? Time is there, and it's just taken for granted. But if we had this big explosion, boom, and you've got the chaotic reaction, how do you get order from disorder? Has anyone ever done that? You get order from disorder? How does that happen? It might happen in a small scale if we get this disorder after we've had a big feast at the farm and everything looks like a big explosion. Then we get the guys that come and clean up the next day and we're orderly. But on this like massive, huge scale, there can't be order from disorder. So this random theory is very, very dubious, but people of intelligence take to it. In Bhagavad Gita chapter 7 it is said, Maya parita jnana, that they're the ones whose knowledge is stolen by illusion. So that's the illusory energy that they want to perpetrate this, keep this going, because hey, we've turned our back on Krishna, we don't need Krishna to create any of this, we've got to work it out for ourselves. Just another point about the skeptics. There's the atheists and the skeptics. They will seize on the fact that we've been talking about Mahavishnu breathing out, right? He breathes out and he breathes in. They go, aha, he's breathing. So therefore we know that if you breathe so many times a minute, right? And then so if we put it all together, we put his breaths together, okay, you've got the lifetime of Lord Brahma, that's a moment, say you breathe 7 times a minute. Right? Human beings usually breathe 7 times a minute, right? So you multiply by 7, multiply by 16, and hey, even though it's a really, really big figure, we've got an N, that there is an N of God. Like the atheists will say, where did God come from? Like we say there is a God, he's eternal. Yeah, but where did he come from? Has anybody ever thought that? Yeah, you've got to think that, right? Where did God come from? So therefore there's the conclusion. We've got 100 years. I mean, it's a long time, but we have a figure. Right, so that after that 100 years, God's gone, right? He's dead, he dies too. Is that right? No, it's not right. It's absolutely wrong, because God is eternal. So there's no time in the spiritual world. There's no time factor. The time factor is only an element which comes into this Mahatattva, comes into this material universe. Otherwise there is no time, so you can't measure. So, because time is created by Krishna just for our benefit, so we go round and round this samsara, this cycle, right? So Krishna gives us a bit of a hint to how he's the creator of this time, what time is meant to do. In the 10th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, he says that time, as time, he is the subduer, verse 30, is inexhaustible time, verse 33, and then the famous sloka that was quoted by Albert Einstein, oh no, who was it? Somebody, when the bomb went off, the first atom bomb went off, right? 1940 something, 45. Time I am, destroyer of the worlds, and I've come to engage all people. It's in chapter 11. Time I am, destroyer of all the worlds. Which is what's happened, Kala. So time is ticking away just like our body's destroyed. Even Lord Brahma's destroyed, the universe is destroyed, we'll go back in the body. Vishnu, Bhutva, Pralita, and again we come out again. So then, that is the situation. So it's transcendent. This is happening here. But the Lord's time, there is no time. It's eternal. There's no day or night. There is no seconds. We don't measure seconds or minutes, how many breaths a minute. It's not there. It doesn't exist in the spiritual world. But then some scholars, Gyanis, will say, but I've read the 10th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, and I've seen that Lord Krishna, he is dancing with the gopis in the middle of the night. So you have night time. So if you have the rasa dance, dancing with the gopis, his most loving devotees on the transcendental platform, if you have that, in Gokula here, you have it in Goloka as well. But, so therefore you have time, you have day and you have night. Wrong again, sorry, because that night time is a manifestation of Krishna's energy for the pleasure of his devotees. So the thing about Krishna is called Yogeshvara. So he's the master of mystics. So he can put that time factor out whenever he likes. It doesn't have to be measured. It's just like we want to perform some pastimes. He says, okay, let's do it. Just like with the cowherd boys, that he used to take the cows into the forest. And they'd be nibbling on their lunch boxes. So just like a cowherd boy, any ordinary person, they'd all get lunch boxes and they'd be looking after the cows in the forest and they'd be nibbling away. So come lunchtime and their boxes were empty, hardly anything in them by lunch because they've already eaten it. So actually on this point, Srila Prabhupada mentions that if we're eating and we're always hungry and we want to eat some more and we're not sure whether we should or we shouldn't, right? But if it's winter time, if it's in the month of December, if it's winter and we think we shouldn't, if you're going to, that's the best time to do it in the middle of winter because you have high energy and you can, your metabolism can absorb this. So anyway, the boys are very hungry and they're saying to Krishna, like, Krishna, we've got nothing left, we're starved, no point in sitting down to eat, we have nothing, we might as well just lie here and starve. Now that's Krishna's friends, right? Now Krishna's not going to let his friends starve. So what does he do? It doesn't matter what time of year it is, say it's the middle of winter and they're starving and there's a tree without any leaves or anything on it, he will manifest it straight away. This is what the boys love. They love Krishna. I said, we know you're God, but can you do this for us? You know, if you're God, can you give us mangoes off this tree? Krishna goes, sure, no problem. And then they get unlimited mangoes and you make so many different facilities for them so they're satisfied. So also in Vrindavan, they can manifest different seasons, so they're having pastimes near Radhakund or Shyamakund and Vrinda, who organised all these pastimes, said, hey, let's do spring. It's the middle of winter. Hey, let's do spring. So all of a sudden all the flowers and trees begin to blossom and everything's beautiful because this is Krishna's energy. It's his Yogeshvara. He's not limited by the material time. So this is understood only by those devotees who've actually lost that attraction for the material energy. If you're totally involved in the material energy, you will not understand this, be confused. So those devotees are totally absorbed in Krishna's name, forms, pastimes, his paraphernalia, and devotional service, just being involved in reciprocating with Krishna through Bhakti Yoga, devotional service, and the science of self-realization becomes self-realized, and they understand Krishna's energy. Krishna's energy is actually everything. Even though there's a spiritual energy, the material world, and this cloud here is inferior energy, still this inferior energy can be turned into spiritual energy by service to Krishna, using it in Krishna's service. So, therefore, the time factor, kala, so it's working, it's entangling all the living entities through the birth, old age, disease. They're trying to fulfill their desires, going through these 8,400,000 species according to the modes. But these species can be put into two categories. the karmis and the vikamis. So the karmis are the ones who accrue karma. You know that? There's good karma, bad karma. You do good things, you get good karma. You do bad things, there's bad karma waiting for you. And it goes on and on. So the vikamis, they're the ones that haven't got their karma. They're living out their karma. They did their dash and they're sort of enjoying or living their karma. So the vikamis, you can say, on this planet are like all the trees, the plants, the animals, the aquatics, the insects, material nature. That's the vikama, right? So we look around, everything's beautiful, green, and there's, kangaroos hopping around, wallabies hopping around in the bush, right? That's vikamis. It's also for our reciprocation, for our pleasure, that they serve us human beings in so many ways. Of course, then human beings should be grateful for this material energy. Just particularly people from the cities who come here and see the wonderful, beautiful greenery and the nature, they're very appreciative, because that's all been deprived in the cities in general. So this is what we understand as nature. So therefore, sometimes people think, well, this is so beautiful, I want to become one with nature. I want to find my own little personal space by a brook or under a nice tree and meditate, that I'll just sort of become one with nature. But actually, everybody has their role to play. The trees have their role to play, the fish, the birds, everybody's got a role in this material world. So the vikamas are living out their role as trees, whatever their service is. Maybe they're fruit trees, or maybe they're just gum trees, koala bears, but they have a role. And similarly, human beings have a role, but it's a different role because we have discretion. So therefore, as human beings, we can work out what's right, what's wrong, what's good, what's bad, what's body, what's soul. So we can understand this. So we think about it, and sometimes when we think what's body, what's soul, it's like we come to, who am I? Like, who's this hand? Am I this hand? Am I this leg? Am I this head? Or who am I? And then you can postulate that I am id. That's the scientist. Okay, well, if I'm the ego, right? I'm in charge of all this. I'm the ego. So I'm the projected person who I think I am, and I stand tall in this material world, which is there for me to reciprocate with and enjoy. But that consciousness is only temporary in this body, because if you think you've got such a great ego, I'm strong, I'm mighty, I'm tough, in your next life you may not be. If you're a man, you may be a woman in your next life, and you may be something else. So what we're looking is for that eternality. And if we don't find that, who am I, where am I going, what's my destination, we're searching for Krishna, we're really searching for Krishna. So if we don't find that, then we won't understand our role as human beings. And in Mother Nature, she'll take precedence and she'll determine your next body, who you are, because you didn't want to do it. So then you can become a vikami, then you become one with the forest. You're a tree in the middle of the forest. Or you're a parrot, sort of hopping about eating berries or a fish. So that's the vikami. So that is the fate of the living entity if he doesn't wake up. And then once again, he's gone through that cycle of 8,400,000 species. It has to come back up again to that species of human being, where once again he can say, who am I really? So Kala, in conclusion, Kala time, it's ticking away. Prabhupada always used to say, my dear boys and girls, do not waste your valuable youth pursuing the fruitless actions of sense gratification. Rather, take to the process devotional service, serve Krishna, go back to the spiritual world, back to Godhead in this lifetime. So we fix our minds on Krishna, engage ourselves in Krishna consciousness. material energy will not dictate our lives again, and we can actually go back to the beautiful abode in the spiritual world, the eternal abode in the spiritual world, and this at the end of our life. Jai, all glory Srila Prabhupada. Does anybody have any questions or comments? Yes, Krishna Kirtan. We don't have a microphone, I don't think we do. Oh, we have a microphone. Oh, yes, okay.
Hare Krishna, thank you very much for this. You mentioned there's no time in the spiritual world, but Mother Yasoda calls Krishna, says it's time for lunch.
It's time for lunch.
And they're rendezvous at certain times.
Yeah, well that's stump the champions. Well, that's also, once again, it's Krishna's Leela, Krishna pastime, because actually Krishna is the Son. He's playing the role of the Son of Mother Yasoda. He's not the Supreme Personality of God, he's the Son. So when she says, Krishna, it's time for lunch, Krishna can pretend that he's very, very hungry. But actually Krishna's Atmaram is very self-satisfied, but he will play the role of the Son in the material world just to please his devotees. Just like I was saying, whatever leelas that are playing out in the spiritual world are there for Krishna to give pleasure to his devotees. So that is my explanation to you. Okay. For better or for worse. If someone can elaborate or anything like that. So the time is ticking away. We have 10. Yes, Anna.
So like.
Hang on, we'll give you a microphone so you can be heard by all the public out there in the Wollumbar and all around the world.
Thank you, Vasu. So from what I understand, we're trying to get to this spiritual world that exists outside of being a human on planet Earth by doing the spiritual work. But I'm wondering, is there a way of, is there a strong understanding that if you connect with Krishna on planet Earth, that you can kind of experience heaven on earth, or is it just about leaving this material world?
Very good point, yeah. So if you connect with Krishna, everything becomes spiritualized, and then as we become spiritualized, our soul takes precedence over our body, and the soul is by nature eternally joyful. It's Satchit Ananda, so eternity, bliss and knowledge. So therefore, as we begin to connect with Krishna, then that shines forward. Just like there's a sort of like a lightness of being. So sometimes when we're dealing with spiritual people, we see that there's this energy that is really, really attractive energy. I know Srila Prabhupada always put out that attractive energy, that when people saw him, they'd just become totally absorbed in this person, you know, even though it's like a human body, they just felt the energy. So, yeah, we become energized. And then that helps us to counteract all the difficulties. It's like we still have to go through that process of getting sick and dying. But the fact of the matter is that we understand we're not this body, and we understand the perspective of the material energy. We can go through it, right? So it's just the example Prabhupada gives us, like you have a cat and a mouse. So a cat usually, if a cat catches a mouse, the mouse is sort of totally, fearful that it's going to be killed, right? But if a cat's got a kitten in its mouth and carries the kitten is totally at ease being carried in the mouth of a cat. So we're at ease. If we've got Krishna, we're at ease with the material energy, and it actually helps to mitigate whatever process of suffering we have to go through at the end of our life.
Thank you.
Well, thank you. Jai, all glory, Srila Prabhupada.